trying to get in.
Okay. I don't.
He like clicked the link and it said the event wasn't.
Here's your background, Angie. I actually don't have a notification from him. I don't. Okay. Nope. I don't have a notification that he's trying to get in at all.
You still want to try my name, by the way?
Yeah. Tell me.
Rutger.
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 Rutger. This is a hard one.
Yeah.
Rutger.
Because I was supposed to say Rutger.
Yeah, that's, I listened to that.
What is the origin, please?
I'm from Holland.
Holland, wow.
Yeah.
Can you say your whole name?
Rutger van der Tas.
Rutger van der Tas. You know,
yes.
it reminded me of Armand van Helden, the famous musician.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with him?
He's a DJ, right?
Yeah, famous DJ. Yeah.
The Van ones.
Yeah, Van Gogh and stuff.
It's like de of de vecchi in Italian. We have a tongue of de something, and in Holland they have a tongue of van something.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to say
it's pretty much the same function, I would imagine.
Or Mac in Scotland.
Wow.
Mac, yeah.
I know how to say. I'm here to learn. Learning a lot. Sorry.
I know how to say alsjeblieft in Dutch. Is that right? Alsjeblieft?
Alsjeblieft, yeah.
You're welcome or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, dankjewel.
You got David in the house.
Yeah, dankjewel.
David.
Oh, nice.
David.
I used to work in Amsterdam every year at NAB, IBC.
Ciao, David.
Hey, Mateo.
And just
how's everyone?
Nice to meet you.
Not to be OCD, but if you can take like a cloth and just wipe your lens a little bit, guys. Some of you are looking a bit fuzzy, like maybe you're broadcasting from underground dungeon.
But I am underground.
Me too. I mean, I was underground bathroom in Rome or some place like that.
It's better.
Yes.
I removed the tape for the first time.
Mattia, you are wild. You are wild.
You haven't even started drinking yet.
Okay. Yep. We don't need we don't need the dental view. We'll just stick with your art.
So we'll put this on grid view.
It's on grid.
Cheers.
Okay.
Can you see
Can
it?
I ask, like, what are we doing here? Exactly?
I know. Like, who are we? What is this again? Well, I guess this is a great time to do the intro.
Hey, everybody! Before we do it, let's all push our links out and tell people.
Yes, please let me drop the link. I mean, it's the same one, but please let me drop it for you in the chat.
The YouTube one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Let me drop it for you.
Okay.
In the chat here.
Chat.
Boom.
To everyone. Let's drop this.
And then just a little house rules. David is our moderator who just jumped in, David Moore. If you're not chatting, please put your mic on mute just to give courtesy to everyone. And in case there's unexpected background noise, that would be awesome. And then obviously we're a big group, so one person at a time. I'm gonna be in the background. Coldy and I are not in this chat, obviously. I'm gonna be in the background. I'll mute my mic.
Cannot hear anything anymore.
No,
If you lost audio.
Pre-mute.
I think you might have muted yourself.
You've muted yourself.
Yes, I did. Just practicing, like showing you guys.
Don't scare us.
I'm just saying I'm still going to be here, but I'll be in the background on mute. And close, David, about 10 minutes before you think you want to wrap up, maybe 20 minutes, I want to ask questions from the audience. Since this is live, people are chiming in. They have tons of questions and feedback, and I want to honor that.
Very good.
Active chat and give people time to interface with you guys
Boom.
with their questions. Okay?
Tweeted.
Everybody feeling legit about that?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, super. Well, I want to get it started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for day 2 of Crypto Art Week. I am your host, Lady Phoenix. Coldy. And Coldy is the co-host, or the other host. We together have put Crypto Art Week together to celebrate the community and the artists in the space. and to bring in new artists to the space, because this is a high time for crypto art. And we thought that folks should see the originators, the makers, the people who got in on the ground floor of this movement, as well as a few newcomers to the space who've been doing an incredible job. We're just great artists in general. And we want to make the circle bigger. We want to help educate everyone, and we want to help connect everyone. So that is the point of Crypto Art Week. We are honored to have all of our guests today. Today's panel is Art Beyond Borders. We want to look at contemporary crypto art from around the globe. We have Alessio De Vecchi. He is Italian, but he lives in Japan. He's an incredible artist. He was recently featured on Instagram for his fuzzy creations. He has a lot of wild, interesting, fun narratives in his art. Please check him out at Alessio De Vecchi at Instagram. We have Mattia Cutini.
Ciao.
Ciao. Who's coming to us from Italy. We have Carlos Marcial Torres, working on my R's. He's coming to us from Mexico. You can check him out at Carlos Marcial on Instagram. He just dropped on Super Rare with one of his pieces. I'd say it's a throwback to The Fountain. If you know that 19th century art, check it out. We have Rutger van der Tas. Did I say it right? Correct me.
Rutger van der Tas.
Okay, super. Rutger is an incredible artist. You need to definitely check him out. Coldy actually collected one of his first pieces to the crypto world. Am I right about that, Coldy?
Yeah, I have one of his earlies. Yeah, I love it. So I think it was one of his first animated movement ones.
Very nice. He's coming to us from Holland. And then we have Angie Taylor, who is what I'd say is kind of like a very colorful, original, like punk artist, a lot of punk aesthetics, pretty brilliant work. She's coming to us from the UK. She's Scottish and English. Welcome. And then David, I've actually just met you. So you want to do your intro. I know you're from Known Origin, which is another of the crypto platforms. Known Origin is wonderful because you guys have a lot of photographers on your platform, right? I actually came across a pretty famous photographer who was releasing his work recently. I don't want to say his name. I don't know if he wants people know he's tokenizing or not, but I was super surprised. I was like, what? This guy's on here? I'm a big fan of his work. And automatically I'm like, whoa, Known Origin. I'm gonna have to check this site more often. You guys have real jewels on that site.
Yeah, we have a great selection of kind of established crypto artists and kind of non-crypto people coming into the scene. So it's kind of why I'm excited about this panel. But yeah, great intro. Thank you.
Where are you broadcasting from?
Straight from Manchester, UK.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I am going to jam out of here. I'll be on mute in the background. If you need anything, just hit me up in chat. And yeah, Coldy, any departing words?
Yeah, I'll just a quick shout out to everybody here. I've gotten to know you all, over the years, some more recently than others, but it's, putting these panels together is super fun, and it's all about getting that awesome mix of energies and engaging talks. So I'm really looking forward to the banter and just hearing about, how this is a global situation. We're not just selling at our local galleries or art, coffee shops or wherever you sell art. It's global, and it's fun to hear from everybody how that is affecting their lives and everything. So thanks for being a part of this, and everybody who's watching, thank you for watching. Yes. Like Lady Phoenix was saying, drop questions in the chat. We're all gonna, everybody, I'll be in there. Let's talk, let's have fun, let's build the community more. So yeah, thanks. Over to you, David.
Cheers.
Thanks, Coldy. Thanks, Lady Fee. Right, let's. So I just want to start by thanking everyone for being on the panel. I think it's going to be a cool topic. It's a huge topic, so it's Art Beyond Borders, Global Perspectives on Contemporary Crypto Art. So what I thought I'd do is kind of break it down into like 3 themes and get you guys discussing those, and then we can kind of jump to the next theme. So the first theme that I thought would be interesting to talk about would like, how has this new medium that has no borders impacted your life? I thought it'd be nice to go ladies first and just get Angie's thoughts on this to kick off.
Hi, well, it's completely transformed my work. I think I'd kind of given up on the idea of ever being a fine artist. and I'd just taken jobs to kind of make a living and ended up becoming a designer, which I'm not really a designer. And just, trying to earn money any way that was closely related to art. And then COVID hit, and I thought my business kind of went down. So I thought, well, maybe this is my last opportunity to try at being a fine artist again. And then I saw a friend of mine had posted some crypto art on Twitter, Algo Mystic. And I kind of said, what's all this? What's crypto art? And he said, oh, it's great. Showed me what he was doing. And I saw that he'd had a sale of 500 quid or something. And I was like, wow, maybe I can sell my art. So I had nothing to lose. And I was really, I'm probably the one person that was quite glad of COVID, because it actually gave me the kick up the arse that I needed to start doing my art again. And I've never been happier, to be honest. I'm making art every day. I'm still having to do my day job. I'm not quite at that stage where I can give it up yet. But
can you share what your day job is?
Yeah, I run a kind of art school training company called Creative Cabin. So I teach other creatives. So I kind of copped out and thought, well, if I can't do it myself, I'll teach other people how to do it. So I enjoy it, but I'd like it to be a sideline. Whereas at the moment, crypto art is the sideline. I'd like to kind of swap it around so that that's a sideline to the crypto art. And, some days I wake up and I think this is possible, and I get really excited. And then other days I wake up and I think, what are you thinking? Just get back to doing your job again. So I'm kind of at that stage where I just really want it to work, and I'm getting quite kind of desperate that it works. So I'm not very patient. So I think I just need to calm down a bit and just keep creating my art and just see what happens.
Cool. Awesome. Who wants to jump in next?
I think that Carlos can jump next, because
you think so? I was gonna suggest you
the same. No. First you, mate, because I know that your situation is all flipped around with COVID.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll go ahead. Thank you, Mattia. Thank you, everybody else, for sharing this opportunity to talk about crypto art with me. I agree with Angie. If it hadn't been for COVID, I would have never, taken the leap into taking my art career seriously. But conceptually speaking, I think crypto art changed my life, because I come from a designer background, right? Like a digital, probably like Alessio understands, just freelancing, doing freelance work, jumping from one studio to the other, that kind of thing. So I spent probably the last 5 years, working for clients. So it's been like a day and night thing, because now I got collectors, I got people. I create whatever I want to create. That's not completely true, right? Because you're always kind of reading the markets. And I've also argued that the platforms have an impact on the art created that's never spoken and discussed, like that's how non-origin. Yeah. I've discussed this with other crypto artists, how the limitations, how the layout of the different NFT platforms definitely has had some kind of impact on the kind of digital art that's being produced, right?
Did you say you assess the market to see what's kind of working well? And
100%. You have to learn how to read the markets. But at the end of the day, you do whatever you want to do, right? When I was working as a designer, I always had to do whatever the client, whoever was paying the money, wanted me to do. And I don't know what to say. How do you explain that leap? How do you explain that revolution? Because it's been a revolution in how digital art is valued, and not only digital art, but also physical art that has made the transition into the digital realm, right? Like, for example, Rutger's art, for example, I could think of, right? His paintings have come into the digital realm. They've been animated digitally. But the fact that digital art can be valued in this way has totally changed my life. Then COVID hit, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, right? I lost my job, and I already had crypto art as a side hustle. So when I saw that, the company, and I say it wasn't COVID-19 that made me lose my job. It was the company's inability to adapt to a new paradigm that was brought on by COVID-19 that made me lose my job, if that makes sense, right? So it's not COVID-19, right? It's not COVID-19.
Accelerator.
Yeah, 100%. So at one point I saw that it was imminent that the company was not gonna survive. My job position was not gonna be there. So I said to myself, "Fuck it, let's jump into the void. Let's see what happens." And a lot of you already know the story, and it's been working, pretty well for me, right? But actually yesterday I was looking through all my sales. I was kind of like adding them up. I had never add them up. So I went to Known Origin yesterday. I went to Super Rare yesterday. I went to Rarible yesterday, and I was, and I saw all the $50, $80 sales, I made, to get to the point where I am right now. So it's been a crazy journey. It's been a life altering, perception altering journey, and I'll leave it at there.
Awesome.
I'll let Matthias
jump in next.
What
I can talk.
Okay, Rutger. I only want to add that is not last year, is 2 years for me and maybe for all other people, because the start was very soft and slow. Now the acting is very fast. Go on, Rutger. I want to hear you, please.
It changed. Actually, I think I accelerated making new works and experimenting with new techniques. So that's I already made digital collages, but I didn't know what to do with it. So like a few years ago, I printed them out, but they just stayed prints. And then I got left behind with like 50 prints of something. And then I thought, what should I do with it? Where can I sell them? I just put them on Facebook and got a few likes, but nobody wanted to buy them. I thought, where should I go? Should I go to a market and sell them there? There was all these different stages that you have to go through to sell these digital things. When I found out that Super Rare was starting, I thought, well, I can finally use them and not take them out of the context, but let them still be in the digital realm and sell them as a digital collectible. So suddenly it fell in place. And from there on, I started experimenting with other programs like After Effects and Blender. Bought an Oculus to make to find out new forms and use these forms in in the painting setting. So there's a whole new thing going on, which I really like, which is possible by the platforms that sell digital collectibles. So yeah, for me, it changed like it added a lot to what I was already doing, and I was already like. I'm not really tied to one way of creating things, but there's always like one, I think, a red line through all my work, which is like the human or a face or the emotions that go on. But yeah, I found new ways of expressing the same story, which I find very comforting, because there's always a well that I can dive into and create more work. But I'm very happy that I don't have to go out and socialize a lot to sell my art. I could just stay online and be on social media and share what I make, instead of going to openings or closings of exhibitions and then stand there talking nervously to other people, which I really don't feel at ease with. I'm very happy with this online world.
Cool. Alicio.
No, Mattia, go first.
Okay. You have to make sure Mattia doesn't go too long though.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
I know you too well.
No, it's interesting, all the stories connected together because of the virus, because of our life, because of restrictions of ourselves. Okay, Rutger doesn't want to talk to people, and then he sells this digital art. Carlos and Angie, maybe because of this COVID, they have changed the way they do things. What I can say about my artistic path is that was pretty much stopped, and then crypto art restarted it. And then basically I am like Carlos, I do what I want. And for this, there are ups and downs. Okay. It's not always straight to do, okay, now I do a different thing because of, I want to create something new. And it's nothing guaranteed that someone will choose this. This is another phase of the same story. I don't know if Alessio can confirm, because Alessio came from standard artistical.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my story is a little bit different than the stories I've heard so far. I mean, I've been doing what I like to do for a long time, and I've been enjoying quite some freedom in my work, even like creative freedom. So I'm oftentimes on the creative side of like briefs and projects. So I was not really ever thinking of like monetizing what I do for fun, right? So basically, I was just making Instagram pieces like most of the people that recently joined the scene. I was pretty lucky there. I got some following, but then I realized that it became kind of stressful, because like you're constantly chasing this algorithm, right? You want to be liked by the algorithm, and like so what you do tends to to be constrained. So how did I get here into crypto art? Well, I think a long time ago I got an email. I don't remember if it was Maker's Place, but like I'm talking like a couple of years ago, and they said something like, "Do you want to make money with your digital art?" I'm like, and I deemed it a scam, 100%. Like, okay, I didn't even open it. And then like 2 years later, thinking Nifty Gateway contacted me and like, oh, this is a real thing. So I started studying. I got into it, and like to me, the biggest thing about this scene is freedom, meaning like like it's not censored. So basically, the pieces that I would have always wanted to put on Instagram, I can actually publish here. I mean, so far, unfortunately, I haven't been able to produce a lot of original content, because like I have actually, it's been my busiest year yet, like thanks to COVID. But like I intend to publish a lot that has to do with morbid themes, like in porn, gore, bloody, all of that. I think this is a good opportunity. I mean, nobody's going to censor us here, and that is the best. And to me, that's the biggest upside. Other than that, I find it quite stressful. I think all platforms should offer free consultation, because people are psychologically crumbling. It's very stressful. I mean, managing your own marketing, your own bidding, in like entertaining relationships with your collectors or potential collectors. It's really time consuming, and it's really stressful.
So we need a crypto psychologist, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think all platforms should offer free consultation.
And do you think there's a gap? Do you seriously think there's a gap there to like handhold artists more and kind of help them through the journey, or is this something that artists have just got to learn to kind of do the marketing and the art?
If you're not careful, you'll end up getting an agent.
Right. Yeah, but like at the same time, probably same as Carlos, I've been freelancing for a long time, so I'm my own agent. But this is different. This is different. It's really it is really intense. I jumped in pretty quickly, and like I found myself like literally staring at the Twitter a lot, and trying to understand what's going on. But like that's very detrimental to my commercial work.
Is the first days, I suppose, because now I don't care basically what happens. I tend to give my time to others just because if I am already mad about doing my things. If I have to swap between marketing, between seller, between bidder, between
Right.
okay, are you happy with what I? Oh, isn't it crazy?
Well, however, I left Twitter 8 years ago, and I promised myself I would never use it again. And then they told me, oh, actually, Twitter is the only tool that you can use to handle yourself and your own, this type of scene. And like I jumped back in, and yeah, the drama was still there, plus the stress, plus like people, everybody's nervous. Is this scene legitimate? Is this gonna last? Am I gonna make money? Do I can I quit my job? I am very, very cautious. I've always been very cautious. I'm trying to juggle like my job and like.
I promise that in 2 years you will be calm down. 2 years.
We need an alternative to Twitter.
Yeah, and what is that?
No one knows yet. It's coming though. Something's got to come. So I think be nice to. That's like 25 minutes on that first theme, which was just great to hear everyone's thoughts on kind of how it's changed, not only kind of your outlook on kind of what we're doing, but how it's changed some of your artwork approach as well, which I think is really interesting. The other part I wanted to touch on was, I'd be interested to know who you guys would say are the contemporaries or like fellow peers in the scene right now. And it's just an opportunity to kind of share less about what we're doing, but more about what we're seeing and who we think's kind of making some moves in the space. I think that would be an interesting chat to have. So it's kind of who do we think the kind of contemporaries and our kind of fellow peers are in the scene? Let's start with Matteo. Who do you think's out there, Matteo, who you look at and get excited by?
What I am interested lastly is what we see if we do integration between digital and physical and digital and real life. Let's talk about async pieces that are not in movement, that are not static, but basically are triggered from external events. What I can see, I want to see is more integration between devices, between what we have around. So basically, a measure from temperature, from where you are. So geo-tagged pieces, like was one from Fabian Rashid, maybe, that has got geolocalized some parts that then have gone. That is the most interesting part, because technically the level is really high. Alessio is an extraordinary 3D artist, for example, but also in 2D, also Carlos in other stuff. These are incredible drawings now. And basically the technology and that part is really great. I think that we can see more integration, basically some more from the touch part, from the integration with APIs and so on.
You're muted, David.
Classic. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna sound like super cliche, but I'm excited, for all the community. I think that's one of the most beautiful things around crypto art. Like, it's not solipsistic. I mean, I think it's quite the difficult task to survive, and get eyeballs on your art and get attention if you're not, participating, if you're not communicating. But I agree with Rutger, like the cool thing about this is, like, I myself, I think I'm a good mix between extrovert and introvert. So a lot of the marketing that I do for myself, I'm pretty sure I would not be able to do it, in the traditional art market. It would be too convoluted, like agents, like Angie mentioned. So the fact that it's, social media, although I agree with Alessio that it can be, stressful, definitely. But going back to your question, I it's the whole community, but I tend to divide artists, at least now, kind of like in three stages. So for me, it's kind of like the first generation. So there you probably would have like Mattia, you would have an Excopy, you would have a Hackathon, and I still keep like a close eye on all of them, because they were the people that were already, using the platforms when I jumped in a year ago, right? My first NFT ever. It's a Matia. And I still keep it, even though I resold the other one that I bought from him. I got a good offer and I resold, made some profit on it. The very first one, it's still, very dear to my heart. This is the first NFT that I ever bought from anybody. I plan on keeping it, until I die, basically. So that's the first generation. I'm looking at them to see how they are progressing, to see how they're adapting to because then you have the second generation that came around, and I would consider myself to be there, kind of like we got in the middle. We were not sure if this was gonna go somewhere. We came in still, and the sales were, slow and small. But we saw people really excited, like Matia and Hakatao, about all this, and we got contagiados, right? We got contagious by them. And now I see the third generation, right? And I see, the likes of Alessio, of Gavin Shapiro, or of Cornelius Dandrick, of Fuck Render. I mean, like, mind-blowing, I'm mentioning 3D artists because I'm a 3D artist myself, and I've been following these guys forever, and my Instagram game, for example, was never on part to like Alessios or Gavin, and they seemed like very far off. Like, I mean, I wonder how I was gonna like ever talk to a guy like Alessio or Gavin, and it's really interesting to see them.
Carlos, seems that the world becomes smallest every day.
Oh,
I don't know if you feel the same. Basically, 1 year ago, you say, okay, that's the point that want to arrive, and now that this is the point.
Yeah, exactly. You have people joining in, and people that come with like huge backgrounds, and they've been doing a lot of like digital art outside of crypto art, and then they're jumping in. So just to answer your question, it's like I have people from the first generation that I'm keeping an eye. I have people from the second generation, that those are the people that I remember that I joined at the same time. And it's nice because there's kind of like, like a colleague kind of mindset. Like whoever from my generation tweets something, it's like an immediate retweet. It's like I don't give a fuck if I don't even like the artwork. It's from my generation. We're together in this. And then you have like the new people joining in, and I'm super excited to see how crazy this is getting. Getting crazy.
What is the fourth generation? I mean, you're talking about the third generation that would be, us like super new ones, but like the fourth generation, is it gonna be like the big names that will wipe everybody out?
But you know what, I would argue that probably the fourth generation it's kind of like and Super Rare just came out recently.
Excuse me, Alessio wants a name for watchers. How do you say?
Yeah. I was gonna say the same. Like they're
how old is her?
17. 18, awesome. 17.
I love her.
She's great. She's great.
That's the generation that's going to take this whole thing to places that we can't even imagine.
Exactly, because they're the crypto art native generation. If that makes sense.
They have an understanding of digital value far beyond anything that we've got, because they've grown up and been brought up with digital assets that have a value on games, in stores. They have a virtual currency in Fortnite, right? They know what a virtual currency is way before any of us could get our heads around it. So yeah, Ferocious is like,
it's great.
Me, like imagine
would it be so bad imagining her also in an established institutional gallery? I mean, I think the two things can coexist.
I could see it.
Yeah, and like so can I. So what when people say, oh, she's the she's the biggest digital artist. She's not just a digital or like a crypto artist. She's an artist, and I think she's extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see her work in any gallery, like in Gagosian or any gallery,
exactly.
gallery. So whatever. So what I'm saying is like to a lot of people is like if you're part of this scene, doesn't necessarily mean you have to neglect everything else. I think it's a scene that can live, it can coexist. Yeah,
it's exciting because she brings the energy, she brings the hope. Like we went through like half of 2019 was brutal. It was like hard promotion, like to get a sell was like a big thing. And then she dropped on the scene and she brought a big, like, for me, a big ray of sunshine. Every time I seen her make a video, I had to smile because I just thought we're in good hands.
Yeah.
When this next wave of people come, we're in good hands because they're going to take it to cool places. Who wants to jump in next?
I'd like to say that I'm really excited about Beeple starting on Friday. I think Beeple is just going to kind of blow the scene wide open with his work. I mean, he's incredible. I've been following him for, well, kind of lucky enough to be a friend of his from the old motion graphics scene. But before I met him, I was kind of astounded by how prolific he is. I mean, doing the kind of work that he does on a daily basis.
He's clever as well because he's just teasing those little things out, right?
He is. Yeah.
You're muted.
Angie, you're on mute.
I was just saying I could see him, doing the Trump stuff, getting more and more gross. And like that's what's really excited me because it's made his work like much more organic and painterly in a way. It looks really kind of almost like cinematic but as if it's hand painted. It's just incredible.
The aesthetic's incredible. Now, my gut feeling is I don't know, but I think he's possibly going to launch on the 31st, Halloween, maybe.
He's launching on Friday on Nifty Gateway. It's up on the front page of Nifty Gateway just now.
Right, I didn't realize he announced who he's going with.
Yeah, Friday.
KO was trying to persuade him, but
for me, like people joining in, it's like when people talk about Bitcoin and institutional money. So they talk about like JP Morgan, and they talk about like this big, like Michael Saylor from, I think it's MicroStrategy, putting a 10% of all the company's value in Bitcoin. I compare people jumping into crypto art to that.
But he's never made money from it before, so he's always given away everything free, which is really interesting as well.
Well, but
so
that's also a way to indirectly make money.
Absolutely,
because,
yeah.
Of course, if your work becomes so organic and so widespread, inevitably, like money will come your way.
Right. He
did
a fashion show with, I think it was Gucci or in Paris.
Louis
Vuitton.
Licensed his images to Vuitton, yeah.
The other artist that I'm really excited about is Marjan Moghadam, who's like a long-established digital artist, but has been selling some work on Super Rare, I think. But I think is kind of looking to maybe spread out a little bit. I've just been really excited about the work she's doing. And I'd love to see people like Laurie Anderson get involved in crypto art. She did some VR like projects a couple of years ago, and I think she would just love crypto art. But I kind of see there's still a bit of a kind of divide there between those artists who are kind of left field on the traditional art scene, but they haven't quite got to cross the divide yet into crypto art. They kind of need a little bit of a pullover, I think.
There'll definitely be a nudge or a tipping point that happens. It's just we're not quite there yet, but it feels like the needle is starting to really tilt, and there's gonna be a moment where the tipping point happens.
Yeah.
But it might be an influencer, it might be like one of these contemporaries that we are excited about.
Yeah, can I say something about that? Because I really wonder, are you other artists also like trying to get like analog artists into the crypto world? Crypto art, because I sometimes have a pretty hard time explaining them that it has to do with blockchain, and then there's like, is that something with crypto? Oh, I don't want to get involved in that, and it feels like they are like accusing it already of something which is is a scam, or it's like it's not legitimate, or it's illegal, or it's like the Silk Road stuff. Now, and
yes.
Yeah, I really have to.
It's 2 years that I try to bring people in this, but when I understood that it's impossible, basically I've made up this new wallet and called it Adoption, and Known Origin is the first place where I tokenize something for others, basically.
Mhm.
It's just the first step, because everything else never worked for me. I tried to give them our advices or give them pieces, and to give pieces, maybe it was too early, I don't know. But basically what I do is tokenize stuff for others. I have this small account that's called Adoption, and it's like a gallery inside a gallery.
Nice. Yeah.
I think right now it's the opposite. I mean, like I get like, I don't know, 20 messages a day, like of like, you know, other artists saying, hey, what is this? Is this scam? Are they going to sell your kidneys? You know?
Okay, Alessio,
like,
say them to write to adoptionnft@gmail.com, and so basically we find a way.
I'll do that.
So I think just to kind of just before the Q&As, I think I had one final kind of thought, and it'd be nice to get everyone's thoughts on like, how do you think these early years will be remembered in 5 years' time?
I think it's crazy that I've been thinking lately a lot that I don't know what's gonna happen with you know, crypto art, digital art. But in 20 years, I know I'm gonna look back, because you know, COVID-19 is gonna be part of history books, you know, and now I'm pretty sure crypto art is slowly but surely making its way into art history, you know, and once we get, you know, and I think you have kind of like the academia, even though, and I would like to take off from kind of like that like that thing regarding like people think it's a scam, but you already have people, you know, from big colleges and universities reaching out, you know, because they want to write about it. They want to write PhD dissertations and theses on this.
They are already writing it.
They are already.
Massimo Franceschi from Udine, from my university, is already writing it.
So I mean, it has all the potential to stay in people's mind and to be part of culture. So going back to the COVID-19 thing, I mean, I know in 10 years, 5 years, there's going to be documentaries, there's going to be books. And the fact that this thing blew up because of COVID-19, it's kind of like it's made its way. It shows the best historical moment. Yes, totally. I mean, without planning it, it just, you know, grew organically from what you were building, David, and that, you know, caught our attention. So we got into all this, and it appears like it just happened at the right moment for crypto art or NFT art, however you want to art on the blockchain, to make its mark on the world. So I would expect in 5 years, well, like that, you know, to have like a lot of PhD dissertations, a lot of things being written about it, you know, much more NFTs being auctioned off at big art auction houses like Sotheby's or Christie's, much more people being able to live off exclusively crypto art, just like myself, right? Like I always say, I'm guessing that I'm probably one of the first ones, but I'm hoping that I'm not, you know, the only one or the last one. I'm hoping Angie eventually, you know, has the ability to make, you know, the jump, and everybody else, you know, that's willing to do it. So that's what I hope to see in 5 years.
By the way, I'm already teaching crypto art on my university course. I didn't ask
There you go.
permission.
You go.
I've just started teaching.
Yeah, but that's how it's gonna start, you know, creeping in, you know.
I taught a class
such a big thing, right?
I taught a class of 13 students last week, and absolutely every one of them are like, I got to do this. And it's so exciting. Yeah. And none of them, it's funny because they're all digital artists. It's the qualification is the MA Digital Media Arts. So I said, right, who here has heard of crypto art? None of them. I couldn't believe it. So, but by the end of it, they're all on there, you know, getting their MetaMask wallet, buying Ethereum, going home.
Oh, you was lucky.
We're in this little bubble, right? Go ahead, Matteo.
What I have to say about what we will understand and we will remember about these years. Yeah, I'm with Carlos. Basically, a virus that has started all this. Maybe all this staying at home has triggered this magical stuff, and this is a good moment to empower this. Okay, just because we need art, but we also need technology, and it's beautiful for me. These two things that are going together, because we artists imagine stuff and we have the technicians that basically they give us what we need, and it's incredible for me.
So we can, I think Lady Fee might be joining us for the Q&A. I think we've got some questions coming in.
Hey, friend.
I guess we'll just.
Yeah. So Q&A. First of all, thank you. I thought that was really amazing. I was learning things from Jump Street. Angie, I loved all of your suggestions for artists. Love Beeple, love Marjan's work. I said to Marjan maybe 2 weeks ago that I think she's the Da Vinci of digital. She creates things, her work is from the pixel. It's vibrant. The narratives are really refreshing, and she's not using tutorials to make her work. I think something that maybe one of you hinted on, maybe it was you, Alessio, is that, there are real fine artists in the space who don't necessarily want to be on a platform or in a, top 10 curated lineup of one-click artists. When you're putting your real, artistic soul, so to speak, and all of your brain cells into a piece, regardless of what someone thinks about it. And it's an original work and not something you stole from another artist, put a filter on and then put your name on it, or, downloaded an app for free at the App Store, put a filter on it and then said, hey, this one-click art is now $5,000 on Super Rare or Rareable, Known Origin, Maker's Place, whatever platform. I think
there was a time also for that, because we have seen also that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We're still seeing it, unfortunately. People are literally using, Octane tutorials and selling them as their art. I think there will be a time for sure when in this market, we see a separation between the digital artists who are actually creating from the pixel, as I like to say, even though they might be using some softwares, whether it's animation softwares or some like Blender softwares, Octane, it's still originally theirs. Right? They're not essentially pushing, clicking like particles or something, and arranging some like basic physics on there and saying, hey, this is my art now, like buy it, it's $10,000. People, they don't know the difference now, right? So there's not that sophisticated kind of buyer's market or collector's market just yet. It's, for me, my own personal opinion, a lot of wealthy people who really like the art from a fanatical or a kind of like fan art perspective. They're not really looking and seeing all the details of the work, like Algomistic, for example, like that he writes all of that code. And that's his code base is the art that expresses itself now visually. It's beautiful and it's so awesome. And then he's able to put music on it, and he created that music. This isn't like him ripping off another musician or, just being lazy about how he finds the music. He's put his entire, personal resource from thought to heart to, whatever else into what he's making.
A friend of mine used to say is the difference between sampling and make a complete transplant.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that there are a lot of folks out there right now who are sampling, and it's okay because the internet is a remix space, but don't, like I saw a work on, I won't say the artist's name, but I saw a work on Super Rare recently where it was literally a baby inside of a cube spinning around. And I think the work was like $5,000. And I wanted to be like, what? This is literally like, you got this from free somewhere, like this isn't amazing. Like people should not be paying $5,000 for this. If you need money and you want to make money for your work, please, by all means, you put efforts or at least a brain cell into that, make something, feed your family, pay your rent, re-up on the next software, do what's necessary to advance your practice, but don't take advantage of the space and ruin it for artists who are actually creating from the pixel, and artists like yourself, Angie, Carlos, Mattia, Rutger, Alessio, who've actually been in the game for a very long time from a variety of perspectives, whether it's design, whether it's, doing corporate client work, whether it's you were a painter and now you've, animated your paintings. There's a lot that goes into being an artist and having a practice, a thriving practice. And so, when real artists find this crypto art space, it's actually an opportunity. It's not to be exploited. And that's part of the reason why Coldy and I wanted to put this together, so that we can voice and give proper audience and attention to these artists, but also to these issues. No one should buy that art for $5,000. Not trying to ruin that guy's day.
Can I play devil's advocate? I think there's a lot of people that really value the anarchy in this space. So it's as a form of freedom, meaning you put up shit, you sell it for 5K, well, good for you, kind of thing. So there's absolutely, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are they're absolutely okay with it, which it is a form of freedom.
Does that damage the reputation though?
Yeah.
I suppose there's also the thing that you have to look at as well, that some people start doing tutorials, but they lead on to other things. So maybe some of the people are doing that with good intentions. They're not necessarily wanting to rip people off. They're just thinking, I really want to be an artist. I'll do a tutorial, and they get so excited about what they've created that they put it online without even thinking. So you kind of have to, I'm with you that I'd love to see more qualitative art and art that makes you think. And I get exactly the same feelings, but I kind of think, hang on a minute, you have to kind of try and, I suppose, I don't know.
But you know what?
Things from both sides.
That's why I was saying, if they want to put that on and sell it to get the money for their lives, I'm all for that. Do that. But knowing that they literally copied a tutorial line by line, scene by scene, it ruins it for other artists who are creating from the pixel, such as this whole panel here. It ruins it for kind of, I don't want to say real artists, but it ruins it for that real practice of art. And so,
the funny thing is, some people I get here for training, they'll say, oh, I know how to use After Effects or Cinema 4D or whatever. And I'll say, oh, show me some of your work. And they show me tutorials, and I'll say, that's a tutorial. And they go, oh yeah, but I finished it. And I'm like, they think, they do actually genuinely believe that them doing a tutorial means they know that software and they've done that work and that's their work. There's a real lack of, I know, but there's a lack of understanding.
Use tutorials.
I mean, if they
come on, tutorials is how all of us learn to do things, so that's okay. And then again, I was just playing devil's advocate. I agree there should be some curation, but then some might argue that curation comes at the cost of freedom, right? So and I think listen, I'm playing devil's advocate. I see you looking at me. I'm with you 100%. But I'm trying to also to interpret a feeling that I've been observing.
Maybe you just need to open comments for art on platforms so that people can actually say this is shit. So that you actually get. But the thing is that things just stay up there.
Really
nobody knows what anyone thinks.
I want this feature. I want this feature too.
Yeah, because nobody knows what anyone thinks of the artwork. And yeah, it would be frightening for artists in a way, because I'm sure you'd get lots of negative comments. But then people, yeah.
Art is a really it's a really unique practice. It's a really unique profession, because it's one of the only things where you put so much into something, create something, and essentially put it out there for criticism, whether you like it or not. And it's a part of you that you put out there to say, look, I've created this thing that I love. What do you think? And you kind of push it out to the world and basically say, what do you think of this thing that I've created? and there's going to be like a range of like emotions toward that piece that you've done. And like, I might look at something and go, who in the right mind would spend that much money on that thing there? But someone else might look at it and love it. So it's an interesting place. But there is definitely something to I think as the space matures, the quality will go up, and the people that find it hard to like lift their game as well, over time will probably stop selling, and the quality pieces will always shine through. And because I see people like Jam Factory, like Griff, Crypto Griff, amazing talent, but struggle to sell because the trend cycle isn't about the style that they do. The trend at the minute is about something else. And I've said to them, be patient. Quality will always shine through. It's still really early. And as soon as the collector pool grows beyond where we are now, the quality people will go for quality over trends, but that will take time.
But see, I think
the same thing happened. Oh.
Sorry, just really quickly, Angie. I think that goes back to what Alessio was saying at the very top of the panel together, is that, you know, getting into the space and having it be a bunch of everyone in the space, platforms would be well advised to offer some sort of like primer, or, you know, a primer. Let's just keep it simple like that. I don't think we need a platform psychologist, but there needs to be a platform.
Well, I do.
Where people get the I mean, for some folks might need a psychologist, but it should not come from the platforms. Someone from the crypto art community who has a psych background should volunteer to do Zoom with folks once they first, that should be a part of the packaging. Okay, welcome to the platform. Here are the psychologists within the community who are willing to do a 15-minute consult with you.
There should be a disclaimer. I mean, this thing is dangerous.
Or you know, here's the thing, if you're willing to.
I have already done these sessions with some people.
If you're willing to, and again, this is the reason why Coldy and I put this together, so we can know each other, so we can hear from each other, know our concerns. People may think, oh, it's easy, you know, as David was saying earlier, someone like Ferocious who's 17 and like, you know, smashing the crypto art world right now with her art, it may be zero lift for her, and this is easy and it's a no-brainer. She has no questions. Someone else, you know, may, regardless of their age, just their experience doesn't lend to them the sort of like automatic, I'm picking this up, it's easy. They're more, you know, maybe analytical, maybe there are, you know, certain like trust issues. Maybe they come from a finance background and they're like, no. I understand how this works. I understand that money, you know, has performed like this historically, you know, so I need to understand every single bit of this Ethereum, Bitcoin, crypto, blockchain. I want to understand it, you know, clinically. Where someone like Ferocious is like, yeah, this is old hat. I grew up with, you know, this technology. I understand these terms. I grew up in an environment of trust through social media. So it's not a big deal. I'm just sharing my art the way I would on Instagram, but, you know, they have a payment, you know, gateway on top. Cool. This is awesome. I love it. Right. I mean, PayPal did, you know, just buy a crypto company and they're accepting crypto now. So, or will in the very near future. Right. So, you know, if you grow up in the water, and you're a fish, you don't know that the water isn't the entire world. You think that that's your world. And so I think that there are some people who are coming to the space with that, right? And so we just have to have a certain level of integrity. I think that at the end of the day, like integrity in the work is always something that we should promote and encourage people. The art world is already, you know, riddled with like kind of shady characters, and people automatically think of the art world as a place for, you know, washing, right? The art world is basically a grand laundrette, right? Where where people are, you know, sudsing up this and that. I'll put it in those terms, and people who know and understand. Essentially, there's a lot of money laundering, a lot of like shady deals, a lot of like back alley, you know, deals. But here's the thing, there's also a lot of incredible work being made from stellar people, right? And so if we can focus on that and uplift that and provide a way for artists finally, for the first time in modern history, to be able to eat and survive and thrive off of their practice, I think we'll have done something incredible for humanity overall.
I'll jump in, and I'm gonna say, God bless your soul, Lady Phoenix, because I think your intentions are completely right, you know, and I truly believe that we have a chance with NFT art to kind of like try to heal or not make the same mistakes that we've come to make from the traditional art market. But it's there, it's in the technology. I mean, all the deals that happen in Christie's, in Sotheby's, in all these big art auction houses are all closed doors. But if you wanna know how much I made in the past 11 months selling crypto art, you can go and check it, and you can check it out, and you can go and do the sum, just like I did yesterday. So that openness, that transparency, Subsana, it helps a lot of like those issues. I'm not saying like we won't get some of that replicated and reproduced, of course. But the art world is it's very strange. It's like I tell everybody, like, if you wanna understand how crazy the value is in art, how art is value, you just have to watch nowadays Sotheby's and Christie's. They do live streams of their auctions, and you see a fucking, you know, I mean, and I'm saying fucking, it might be, it's Malevich, you know, it's a white on white, it's a white square on a white canvas, and it's sold for $30 million. And if you think how much money Malevich must have like invested, you know, in, because I'm pretty sure he didn't even use like the expensive acrylics. He didn't use like the expensive canvas. He didn't use the expensive wood, but still, because it's a Malevich, it's being sold on Sotheby's and Christie's for $30 million. And that's how subjective the value in the art market is. I like I said, like, God bless your soul. I completely agree, and I think that's also like what Alessio said. That's the balance between the open platforms, right? Like in the end, at the end of the day, this is still kind of like an internet phenomenon, right? And we talk about, like, you have Jason Bailey, Art Nom, talking about the meme economy, all that kind of things. So it lends itself to have this kind of anarchist, you know, a point of view. And I think that's good. That needs to be preserved, and that needs to be encouraged. But I think we need to see much more curation. We need to see, I mean, what's the role of galleries in, I haven't seen that. And I would argue that maybe next year would be the year of galleries in crypto art, for example. But they must be galleries that are in tune with the technology, because you don't have many different ways, and open ways and collaborative ways of implementing that curation, right? Rarible, they did their governance token. Okay, maybe it didn't work. It was, you know, like a try and miss. But that doesn't mean that other platforms are not gonna try to do it and put the curation in the hands of the users. So I think, I mean, even if I agree with that, and I feel myself like that, because me personally, I'm trying, and I've told this before, I'm trying to make 3D art fine art. That is my biggest goal and my biggest intention. You know, I want 3D art to be next to every other category in the fine art, you know, lexicon. So for us 3D artists to get to that point, we need to, you know, like you just said, you know, whoever is, you know, doing things that it's, you know, a copy paste from a tutorial. It affects that progression of making 3D art into fine art. But there needs to be a balance, I guess. You know, there needs to be a balance. It's an internet phenomenon. It's, I don't know, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure it out now in my head, and I can't.
I think you bring up a good point about
psychologist.
the crypto gallerist, and I wanted to see if Rukert wanted to add anything to that before we go into Q&A, if anyone had any last thoughts. I feel, see, and this is, Angie, what we were talking about offline. I feel like now we've warmed up, and now there's a whole can of worms to just to look over, pick over, discuss, like this whole idea of like the gallerist, right? The crypto gallerist for the future. Like, what does that really look like? Should the gallerist get a percentage? You know, should there be, you know, because I think you brought this up, Angie, earlier. It's like, okay, you said, well, now you're talking about having an agent or a gallerist. And one would argue, well, the whole point of the internet and these platforms is kind of to not have that, right? To be as independent as possible. So I think you're right, Carlos, in that the crypto gallerist has to be different. It cannot emulate or imitate or be a whiff of anything close to the old art world. And it really has to be in service of the artist. In fact, like if they do shows at their building or a virtual building, they shouldn't even have the name of the gallery on the building. It should just be the name of the artist, right? So you pull up and you know why you're there, and it's obvious from literally the door, you know? And people should ask, what gallery is this, rather than what show am I at, right? What artist is this? They should know that already and be stoked to be in the building, and then be like, oh, this is Universe Contemporary. Oh yeah, right? Instead of like, oh, I'm at Gagosian, but what artist am I here to see? Like, what's going on, right? Does anyone have any last minute thoughts before I jump into the Q&A? Crypto Una has a lot to say. Karen M has been chiming in with some good comments, so I want to make sure we give these guys some time too.
I was talking about or thinking about something like I think 10 minutes ago or something. About the people who tokenize their work from how do you say that, they did a tutorial. I think I'm still, you can hear me, right? Yep. Okay, the screen was so still that I thought you were glitching and I was gone, and great. I think that like people, they are sort of amazed by what they made with the tutorial, that they think that it's pretty good, so they tokenize it. But after I think that like if they've done all the tutorials and nothing new comes up with the tools that they learned, they will stop producing things. So like most of the artists who learned the tools, they start creating their own work with the new tools they learned from the tutorials. So I think the tutorials are really great. And in the beginning, you have people who learned the tool, and they are very excited about what they made. So they tokenize it, but they didn't look through the library of artists that are already making good stuff. Otherwise, they probably would not have like tokenized it if they've seen like that it's only a tool that they learned instead of like they produced their own work.
Yeah, I think a very similar thing happened in the 80s and 90s with the desktop publishing revolution, because before that, the only way that you could create printed work was, you know, by hiring a printing press and having it actually printed. And in the old punk days, we used to create fanzines. We just photocopy stuff that we'd made, cut and paste things and copy things. And that was all just stuff cut out of magazines and copied and cut up and then photocopied. And then desktop publishing came along and everyone thought they could be a designer. And suddenly loads of designers went out of work, lost their jobs because they would hire people that were cheaper, that had done a couple of tutorials. And for a while it was really bad, but then eventually the cream rises to the top again. And it's a natural process that you will get a glut of kind of new people coming in and making crap. In some cases, obviously, there's a lot of good stuff as well, but eventually they won't be able to sustain the effort. And you only get good at something if you sustain effort. I don't believe in magical talent. I think it's hard work and effort and motivation and passion that creates talent. And I think without those things, you know, the people that deserve it will end up staying around, and the people that can't hack it will end up leaving.
Definitely. I wanted to be clear that tutorials are bad. I don't think tutorials are bad at all. I think that people learning on tutorials is wonderful. It's a form of community, right? But what I think is unfortunate, right, is when you do one tutorial and then you put it on a platform with people who have an authentic practice, who have been putting in the work, and then that tutorial, that copy, it's essentially a copy from the artist who has been putting in the work, but is not selling on Super Rare or any of these platforms. Instead, they take that artist's work from that they learn from, put their work up on the platform and sell it for 5,000. Personally, I'm not okay with that. I think that if they're going to do that, they should list the artist that they studied from, got the
I agree
from, and split that money with that teacher, essentially, with that artist.
Make a mention and then pay him.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you.
If they did that, it could be 10,000, because then I'd know that 2 artists are eating from that money. 2 artists are benefiting. 2 artists are being known from the one work. One artist had the ingenuity to put it up on a Super Rare platform, and then the other artist had the talent, the time, the dedication to teach others how to do that. And then they come together and they're both winning. All the boats rise from the tide. I'm into that. But I think what I saw from this person was a tutorial for $5,000 from clearly someone else. And there was no mention that they were a developing artist. I think on these platforms, there should be space for artists who are brand new, who are developing, who are learning from tutorials. There's some awesome tutorial art on there that I personally love. I wouldn't pay $5,000 because I know better, right? But I would pay for it nonetheless to support their continued growth. That's my last word on that. We'll jump into questions. Rutger, Mattia, Alessio, Angie, Carlos, David, did you guys have any final thoughts?
You said it all.
Just a last question. I don't know. Are there people busy with a lot of collabs? Because there's so many possibilities with joining a group of people which you don't know, and then start a Telegram group and just move files around and make new art. I'm in one of these collabs, and I really like connecting with all these people from all over the world. It's really, I don't know, it's refreshing as well. And I wonder if others are doing that too.
I've just finished one, and I've got another. Oh, sorry. I've just finished.
Go ahead, Angie. Go ahead.
I just finished one, and I've got another few lined up, and I love doing it. I love collaborating. On any level, I like having a tiny little part of it, or I like, I don't mind how much of it I have a part of, even if it's just like helping. I really enjoy it. I love working with groups of people. What I'm not really good about is commitments, though. I tend to over subscribe to things. I say yes to everything, and then I think, oh my God, how am I going to do it all? So that's a reservation, is I get really worried that I'm going to just take on too much and then explode.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give a couple of final thoughts. I agree with Alessio that a lot of us have learned, especially like 3D artists from tutorials. But I think the really great ones, and this goes back to what you were saying, Lady Phoenix, go on to create their own stuff and to create eventually their own tutorials, because in that progression they've developed new techniques, have learned new software, that kind of thing. But I think it has to do also with, and the theme of this talk is it's globalism, right? It's a global art market, and art markets depend also on having the infrastructure of art education, right? And I think the interesting thing about tutorials and YouTube as a third world artist is the fact that I didn't have to move to London. I didn't have to move to New York. I didn't have to move to Milan, to Rome, to Paris. I've been doing it, from an impoverished third world country, without having to make that investment like, oh, I need to be in the center of the art world in New York to be able to jump in and be part of it. But for a lot of third world artists, you need to have access to that education in the first place. It doesn't matter if it's digital or not, right? And you have to have the books to read about Kandinsky, and even people you have to know. You have to have the tools and the access to the internet. And if you come from a third world country, that's not always easy to do. So, but even in third world countries, we're starting to see much more of a digitalization of societies, you know. Like I even was watching yesterday a documentary in how people in Cuba, they send, you know, the software, like it's pirated software, you know, but they have LAN connections and Ethernet cables, so they have the same tools. They have After Effects, they have Cinema 4D, they have all these tools that we use, you know, in other countries. They have it in Cuba, but they have all these challenges to work around to get to those tools. But they eventually get it, you know. And with the whole YouTube thing, I think it has to do a lot with that, you know. Like I feel pride in telling people I went to university to study something else, in the way I discovered 3D art through the internet, and I discovered tutorials through the internet. And now I feed my whole family, which includes 3 children, all from things that I learned on the internet. I didn't have to go to any college, any university, and I'm not putting down universities. I'm a product of the University of Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico. I mean, my mom is a professor at the university. But it's really interesting to see that I didn't have to go, you know, to take this course, this class, and I'm making a living of these things. All it took was access to internet and a lot of dedication, right? And the last thing, you know, because I think it goes back to what you were saying, Lady Phoenix, like you shared the tutorial revenue. It's like, I know Gavin Shapiro, the Flamingo guy, and he makes this. I mean, he's a master of making loops. I do loops myself. My infinity rooms, they are loops. But I'm, you know, in all humbleness, they're much more simple than what Gavin can do. Obviously, I have other fortalezas, no, other things, you know, that I add to my things that make it mine, and you know, and that's why it's my art. But I noticed that Gavin put out a tutorial to how to make, you know, his very complicated, mathematically based, you know, loops, and I'm like, I want to sit down and see how this guy.
We're not going to be able to do it. I mean, I'm
right,
not wired that way. I'm not wired that way. I mean, I wish I could follow a lot of Gav's tutorials.
I know. It's a fact. It's a fact.
He has do that.
He has this ability to think, you know. I mean, it's amazing. And but I told myself, like, because I saw that somebody else did that, so they made they saw the tutorial, they made an artwork, they tokenized it, and they put it out there. Probably, I think it was in Rarible. They sold it, and Gavin was cool about it. He even retweeted it, right? And he's kind of like saying, if you use the tutorial,
there are levels. So
yes.
Implementing a technique. I mean, we all learned the techniques from someone.
Right.
But what Lady Phoenix is talking about is like a literal,
but
not only of the technique, but of the style. And
right.
Without that, that's it.
Right.
But
I'm gonna go quickly, Alessio, and I'll let you. I thought, like, if I made something out of Gavin's tutorial and I tokenized it, that would be my collaboration with him. I would tell him, Gavin, I'm gonna watch your tutorial. I'm gonna take your looping mechanism. I'm gonna see how I can make it like Carlos. So I'll put like Mexican, Puerto Rican, Latino, something in it. It'll be mine, right? Mm-hmm. It'll be political even, because I consider myself to be a political digital artist too. And then I'll split the whatever I get.
Right.
But that's what you're saying, Lady.
Also, like the being political is an interesting point. I mean, like, I think, you know, all of us, like, that I've been playing the Instagram game for long enough. You know, I mean, anytime somebody is political, except for Beeple, who doesn't give a shit, and he's, you know, good for him. But, like, you know, you take a lot of fire. You catch a lot of fire, like, when you do anything political. But I think this scene is more accepting of that, and like it's also in a way more proper, and like, and then again, you know. So to me, the biggest upside of this scene is freedom. I mean, real freedom. You know, freedom from the algorithm, and freedom, being free from, you know, from being bullied, you know, if you express an opinion. This is my final thought.
Perfect. I think this is a good time to quickly jump into a few questions. We've had a lot of great attendee activity here, so thank you everyone who's been interacting with the panel and sharing your advice and sharing your words. I'll just go to the top really quickly and scan here. Xavier, thanks for being here. Xavier is a Spanish speaker. Xavier, where are you from exactly? He just
Ecuador,
said Latin
I think.
America.
He's from Ecuador.
Oh,
Ask him.
Ecuador in the house. What up, man?
Ecuador in the house. Yeah.
So Cryptoyuna, she made a lot of great comments. I'll quickly just find one of them that I thought was pretty great. She said, even if you're using a tool, it's just that it's a tool you're using in a unique way for your unique vision with it. Otherwise, can you even say it's digital art? A traditional artist might argue that, LOL. Yeah, good point. Good point on that. Matt Kane says, who's going to be the first to model this tutorial economy? Woohoo! Good idea.
Oh, there was already something similar. When I was in DeviantArt, there was a sort of microeconomy of these tutorials. So basically, it's the same thing that is happening.
And Sparrow brings up a good point and says it would help to educate collectors too, so that someone who buys a 3D model for $5 and throws a filter on it won't get 5K for it.
Yeah, I have tried. Basically with doing a full set of pieces to educate collectors, but this message didn't arrive.
I think part of the problem is a lot of these people and a lot of the money comes from the gaming industry. So people are coming from a gaming background and they're seeing stuff. They're used to looking at design rather than art. They're used to looking at the product of design, which is games or adverts or music videos. And they don't see that there is a difference between art and design.
Absolutely.
So I think that's
Well,
part of the problem. I mean,
wait.
Design is still art. I'm not saying that design is any less than art. I think they're both equally valid, but they are completely different. Like design, you make something for a purpose. Art, it's not for a purpose. It's an expression.
But you're thinking of design as in like, you actually make something like, you turn it into something real or useful, but actually there's a lot of examples of like people who are into design that is absolutely, it has no purpose really. I mean, for example, even like, I don't know if you know these guys like 6 and 5.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so 6 and 5, they put out a lot of, actually some of their stuff turn into products, some of the stuff turn into branding identity, but a lot of the stuff they just do it because it's like pleasant imagery. And to me,
but then they're doing art and design. So they're doing both.
Yes,
but some people only do one or the other.
It's very designy. It's never like, it's very curated. It's very slick. I have no doubt we'll see them around soon.
Definitely. And I think the crossover is really interesting. I think it's really good that there's this coming together of art and design. I don't think that's a bad thing. Right. But I think that's partly what I'm trying to say is that's partly why there's a kind of, there does seem to be a kind of weighting towards designery kind of looking stuff as opposed to the more arty stuff. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And I have to like address also, I feel, at least for me, it's kind of like the elephant in the room, the fact that you have, and I'm gonna mention his name because he's so famous and he's the most, he's made the most money out of crypto art. I'm talking about Pac, of course. And the interesting thing about Pac is like, and it would be great if he would be, I mean, if he had been in this panel, he doesn't even model stuff. He uses primitives. We're talking about the most basic common thing in the 3D language, right? Anybody can go and hit on inside Cinema 4D Blender the primitive creation button and have a cube or a spheres. But then, I mean, some other people would argue he takes it, so far away from that, or maybe even the fact that he takes something that is so basic, so primitive, because that's how they're called, primitive shapes inside these 3D programs, and he's been able to become the most profitable digital artist in the whole history of digital art.
Yeah, but like, but don't make the mistake like of thinking that the guy doesn't have a strong 3D background because he does. I mean,
So
like,
I
mean,
remember
his
seeing
work-
his
so-
short films
so-
like 9, 10 years ago. I remember,
exactly.
like
They were
mhm.
absolutely top notch. So like
Yes.
if he you know ended up like with this very minimalistic language, I think he has earned it. He has earned the right to do that, because whatever, like there is some value in the journey, right? So if his journey ends with like cones and spheres and cubes, I mean, I'm all good with that.
I also think, and I love that you're playing like the devil's advocate, Alessio. I appreciate
today
that so
I have
much.
to do it.
Yeah.
And usually I'm inflammatory, but today I have to play devil's
I mean,
advocate.
everything we make is from polygons or pixels. Isn't
Yes,
it? So,
yes,
do you
from
know what I mean?
triangles or from either from
Right,
pixels.
but I've read a lot of comments on Puck's work saying, "Oh, this guy, anybody can do it, and anybody can." No, I mean, first of all, I mean, he's very, very, very clean in his execution. Secondly, it's not true. Not everybody can do it, and even if so, that's the synthesis of a language that he has developed over the
Right.
years.
I could imitate it. You could imitate it, Alessio, easily. I mean, if you go
But we're
now
not
and
him.
try,
And so that's
but
the
we're
point.
not him.
And that's
And
the
if I,
point in art,
right, exactly. And I think, going back to this very interesting thing that Lady Phoenix brought up, it's like, I mean, and I would say this to like the up and coming crypto artists, especially like the young ones that are like seeing this with so much hope and expectations, and I feel for them. It's the fact, don't get hung up too much on like the relationship between the price and the perceived quality, right, of the work. Because if this is the art market 2.0, it's gonna be about the name. And it's unfortunate to say that, and it's sad to say that, and I don't really know how we would go about not being that way.
there is no way out of it. I know that you like to think there is a way out of it, but in the end, like if you're able to build a brand, and if that brand is your name, that's gonna go. I mean, that's gonna work. But like, let's say that in this scene, I think most people start from like equal opportunities at least. Like, and so it's something. But I think some people will always consolidate some sort of branding, and that's inevitable, and that's also okay. I mean, I don't.
And even the people that don't have kind of like the skills to build their own brands, it's happening in the traditional art market. You get, like, I know Angie is totally against that, and in some ways I am too. But you get an agent, you get somebody that helps you, that sees the talent in you, and then no. It's such a nice, interesting debate.
I'm not against anything. I love everything.
But if you can combine the ability of creating like work that is, like it's good, like that is liked, and you can also, you're also good at branding yourself and conducting, like a very mysterious life that, like, triggers interest in your person and your persona and your own life. That's also skill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really quickly, because this is like a conversation now for cocktails, and I want to just brings a few more comments from folks, because folks, as deeply as we're getting into this, folks are too. I wanted to say that I think it's Karen or Karan M. You work with her or them, Carlos. They say to, I wanted to get the exact quote, but Karan or Karen basically were saying that it's so great to have you on, Angie, because of your, your background and your experience and your practice, that you really add a rich point of conversation and perspective to this panel. So she or they really appreciate you, and you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I found the quote. It says, "Angie, so good to have your perspective here. You have seen the art industry evolve in so many ways, and it's a blessing to have your insights."
Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Bill says, he brought up a very good point, and we're going to have a panel called Black on the Blockchain, I believe on Friday, so please stay tuned. But Phil says, as much as crypto art can serve as a leveling technology to give more opportunity to artists outside of the existing mainstream power structures, I'm concerned that the artists flocking to it now are not necessarily the underrepresented groups that could benefit most from it. What are some of the ways we can extend this opportunity to more marginalized groups?
I have to, sorry.
Let's let Angie take it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say about the she art thing that we started, because I felt that women weren't getting the recognition and also the prices that they deserved for the work that they were doing, many of them. And I kind of did that because I wanted just to give people a leg up, just to help people. It wasn't to divide a community or say that, we should be separatists or anything like that. It was just like, these people should be getting more, and I think they need a bit of a push. So I think having more like exhibitions, and it's unfortunate that we have to do stuff like that. You have to kind of make an exhibition that is just women or just people of color or whatever to try and redress the balance a bit. But it is needed. I mean, it's necessary. I'm about to do one for Central American artists in the same venue that we had She Art. And I think it's important and what I'm doing is just doing it that I don't make any money. I just promote the artists. The artists make 100% of anything that's sold. And I think that has to happen. As soon as you start making money out of something, it becomes something different. And there's other ways that you can make money out of having an exhibition. Like I made the She Art poster and I sold editions of that. And that's how I got paid for doing the exhibition for the women that were in the She Art exhibition. So I think that's the key, is try and just increase visibility by having like themed exhibitions. And like what we did was we had parties based around them as well. So we had an opening party, then a closing party. And anytime anyone sold something, we had a party. And we also created a Twitter group as well, which was really lively, and it's been really positive. So I think you just got to do more things like that, really.
I think it's a very complex issue though, because like, on one hand you have like this kind of like elitism, meaning, for example, super rare is like, okay, we let in the 1% of the people. And on the other end you have like, and that's where collectors tend to see value. And then you have rarible, where pretty much anybody can mint things, and automatically it's devalued, right? So there's always like this issue. Well, I mean, it's hard to, I don't know but I don't think for example, I don't think it's like a racial issue. I don't feel that on super rare like minorities are underrepresented, but like I'm sure it is an issue in general. But like I think super rare is doing a good job despite the very narrow door.
Well, I'll jump in here and say that in general, the art world has been quite separatist, as well as technology, right? Separatist based on, your origin, your racial origin, and also separatist based on gender. So we're dealing with hundreds, if not thousands of years of bigotry at every single level, in a way that we're now conditioned to expect it, and also conditioned as those who are marginalized to work twice as hard, but also defend against it. So I don't want to name any platform, right? But I will say that when you're automatically super selective from the beginning, with only allowing 1% of applicants to be on the platform, and then you do a sort of like you research, and the data shows you that of that 1% of applicants, 98% of those people are white men. It's like, and then like 0.03% are women. They're not even looking at the race of the women, they're just women, right? And then like 0.000001, meaning 3 people on that platform, are maybe Black people, maybe Latinx, maybe Asian, maybe whatever. And then because this space, people are very secretive about who they are and their identity, they'd like to remain anonymous. We don't know who they are, right? But for those that are visible, they're white dudes. And so I think a lot about how crypto art can free up the artist. Once again, like if we do this right as a community with crypto art, it'll be the first time, I think personally, in all of history, that artists have actually independently been able to make their work, not be censored, not be checked, right? for their freedoms around making their works. And then they actually have the money to reinvest into their lives, whether that be their practice, their family, what have you, their personal economy. They now have money. They're getting royalties the way musicians would get royalties.
You never say that we need money to make more art.
You need money to live.
To make more art even bigger, and bigger.
Yes. Yes, to live and to live well and to thrive. We need a financial commitment of some sort. And traditionally artists have had to rely on the Medici types for that commitment to their, to their practice so that they can live. And now with crypto art, and especially with the royalties built into the secondary market, now artists actually can thrive. And yes, back to devil's advocate points you were saying, Alessio, earlier, and then some of the points you added to that, Angie, that person who's making that tutorial for 5,000, if that's what feeds them and their family, I'm not against that. I'm just saying, if we look at it holistically, right? We just take a few steps back and look at it holistically. It screws the market for you, Angie, and for you, Alessio, because now people, they don't know what, quote, real art is. They don't know the work of someone who has an actual authentic practice, right? And for me, the artists have always encouraged our society. The artist, is that extra lung for society when things get too dark, too bleak, the world is too much. People look to artists for inspiration, for that extra breath, for that, that ray of sunshine when things are dark. Like, the arts have saved 2020. Are you kidding me? Like, if we had zero arts like Trump had planned, and we just had like Trump bill, and nothing against Trump supporters. I don't even want to go there in the comments. Please save that. But if we didn't have art in 2020, it would be unbearable.
I hate Trump. I'm in Mexico. I can say it. Fuck him.
Okay.
I'm in Mexico.
I hate Trump too.
I hate the guy.
We all hate
Fuck
Trump.
him.
Yeah.
Good.
But for example, if there's someone who loves Trump and he wants to make a supportive, like an art piece that is supportive of Trump, what would the reception be?
It doesn't matter though. The reception doesn't matter. Why? Because he or she, they are free to make whatever works they want to in
that's right.
the community. And somebody in the crypto community, maybe it's the 98% bros or the 1.00%, others.
But then I wonder if the ability to comment on the artwork would still be a good idea. I mean, then you need more psychologists, more shrinks.
But in a way, no, because people, right now I feel like under Trump specifically, but 2020, we're living in a hate economy. So there's a lot of people who get jealous and they don't want that artist to win, or they just like hate, women, or hate Black people, or hate Latinx, whatever it is. And they're going to go there and tear it down. I had some guy yesterday who didn't like a panelist from yesterday who said that I'm a Nazi sympathizer, and then went back to apologize. But he said, yes, Universe Art loves Nazis, and she's only supported by white guys, and this is like my mind was blown. I'm like, dude, where are you getting this from? Oh, I hope crypto art panel or is not going to be another tokenized this, that, the other. I'm like, I'm not a token. Like, I'm like one of the co-founders. Like, this came from my brain. I wanted to.
I have an idea.
I'm Black.
What if like the first step of the selection, like for artists on any platform, is like anonymous, right? So the first submission is like, there's no name, no face attached to it, and then if the art is liked, then there's step 2, and then you because you have to attach like the artwork to an identity. But that could be a way, to get rid of like this. I don't know if it's how real it is. Like, I'm talking about Super Rare because it's the only like platform that I know. I don't know. My favorite, artists on Super Rare are people of color. Huh?
I know, Alessio. I know.
We have to name other platforms too.
Yeah, I don't want to keep naming Super Rare, even though they've been fantastic partners.
No. I named them because it's the only like platform that I really know. I don't know any other.
Make one up. Let's use a
but whatever. So what do you think? Like, maybe anonymous submissions would be like a good way.
But people are Pac is sort of anonymous. We don't know what Pac looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. But if I'm saying it's a mandatory anonymity on the first.
But the thing is, nothing can be completely anonymous, because eventually, like you were both saying earlier about brand, a brand would be developed out of that anonymity. I mean, look what happened to Q. Is that what they're called? The political guys, Q? Anyways, we should wrap this up. But
can I just add something?
I have to go. I'm really sorry, but I've got to.
Ciao.
Yeah. We really
love
enjoyed
Angie.
it. Thank you.
Love
so
you all.
Love
and
you.
I'm sorry I have to go, but I have another meeting.
Can you just let people know where to find you really quickly so they can support your work?
Oh, yeah, angietaylor.co.uk.
Excellent. Thank you, Angie.
Love you all.
Besos.
You were all brilliant, all my fellow people. Love you. Bye.
Love you, Angie.
Bye.
Ciao.
I was just gonna, like, if you let me, like, because I think, like, the anonymity thing is it's a double-edged sword. Like, I for the longest time I've been a proponent of it. You know, like that's because I thought that's one of the most democratic aspects of living inside the internet, right? Like, if you're Black, you're Latino, Latina, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, you're Muslim. If you just create like an avatar, and you can go ahead and you don't have to immediately deal with the pressure of being an Arab woman, you know,
Right.
for example, and trying to make yourself into the art market, which I totally agree with Lady Phoenix. You know, it's like I was saying, like, not long ago, there was a kind of like a lot of crypto drama, a lot of fighting, and I remember saying, dude, this is because of testosterone. There's too much fucking testosterone in this space. But it's not only this space, it's also the art market. The art market historically has been full of testosterone and dicks, you know, and men. But I think the anonymity, now that I think about it, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, honestly, and I'm trying to challenge my own preconceptions here, because I know that, for example, since I began in all this, I made it, maybe it was not completely consciously, but I made it clear for people when they saw my avatar, for example, that I'm a dark-skinned dude. I'm a Black guy, you know, because I probably knew that if I mean, I'm like that. Like, I love community. I love helping other artists, especially if they're kind of like in tough situations, you know. And it was kind of like my way of saying, you know, this space is open for everybody. I don't know if that helped, if that made any effect on anybody, you know, taking a look at me, but I did it because of that, you know.
No,
and sometimes
I think it's a great attitude, and like, but I was just talking about the very initial selection process. That's all. And then
And that could be automated, right? That first process could be like in some sort of, you throw in an image of your art into a machine. The machine makes it autonomous, and then the selection goes to, well, the art, the platform that you want to go to, and then they can just choose whatever they just hit, like with the button, the art they like, and then the name comes out. That should be doable, right?
Yeah.
There's also
it's pretty
another
dystopian,
thing.
but it's still doable.
There is also another thing for the artists that are stuck in doing some kind of every time the same. Let's create another wallet, and let's create another person of you, and let's try to another style. You can do it.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of comments in here, and this is sort of like, oh man, I didn't even want to take it here. Phil says we've misunderstood his question, essentially. He says, my original question was less about the people in this community themselves. I think he means individuals actively discriminating against anyone. If anything, I've found it to be a very welcoming place. It's more about the existing structures so that all people who were there early were very homogenous. Phil, I would agree with that, but that's sort of like historically the point that we're making. Like, the same hegemony that was in the traditional art world has transferred over to the digital art world. And it just so happens that, you know, it's the same in tech. So when you're bringing art and tech together for that, they look the same. If you look at the data, they look the same. And so when you say, how can we give more opportunities to marginalized people, maybe you can help us understand with more clarity what you mean by that, because using that phrase, opportunities for marginalized people, usually looks like a gender and or racial bias conversation. So if that's not the conversation you were meaning, I'd love to know with more clarity what you meant. And I don't think anyone's saying that there's, quote, something wrong with it. We're saying historically the structures that have been in place have lended themselves to that being the data. We now have the opportunity in the crypto space to change that data presently and moving forward so that the picture looks completely different. And I think that's what we're all trying to do here in our own ways, regardless of our backgrounds, right? Whether we're so-called, you know, European, white, so-called Black, woman, so-called gay, straight, whatever it is, I feel like the crypto space offers people the opportunity to add their value to the space and improve the space. And
we have the power to do this, because if you remember, 1 year ago, some people organized together to basically doing 10% of royalties to all the spaces. And basically we can do the same. I see that there's a lot of movement between women of crypto art, and so other things similar can appear, can be revealed.
And you know what I'm gonna add? That in some form or the other, everybody that's right here on this panel is a marginalized artist. If we hadn't discovered crypto art, we were all in the fringes, and I think that's why this is a global panel, because historically speaking, the art market and the art world has been concentrated geographically in a very few spaces, right? So I'm not saying that this is gonna, like, you know, change everything, you know, from one day to the other. It's obviously gonna take time. But if you look at Alessio, probably would have like kept on doing freelance work even if he loved it. But you would have never thought, and I'm saying this with all due respect, Alessio, like he wouldn't have made the transition probably to be a fine artist, you know, and have collectors, because he's probably somewhere else. Like he's not in New York near all the big galleries in New York. You know, the same with Rutger. I'm pretty sure we would not be talking. I mean, certainly about me, you wouldn't be talking to me if I had not discovered crypto art. And I'll dare say that probably that's the case with Mattia too. So I think, you know, even though we haven't gotten as far as we all wish, right? Like we all want that. The fact that you have somewhat marginalized, you know, artists talking about being part of an art market and having collectors, it's massive. It's big.
Yes, I agree with Carlos. I made my first personal exhibition last year just because I have tried crypto art first. I have tried the concept, tried if they worked, and then I have exhibited my stuff.
very cool. Well, I think that we should wrap it up. There are a lot of great people that have contributed to this conversation as attendees for today's panel, and I want to shout them out. Rob Ness jumped in a little bit late. Shout out to him. Lander, who's new to the art world. Shout out to him. Phil Smith, thank you for making very good points. Shout out to you. Karen, is it Karen or Karan? K-A-R-A-N? No? Okay.
It's
Karen? Karan? Okay, Karan, shout out to you. You've made very good points. We really appreciate you. Sparrow as well. We look forward to having you on the Ladies of Crypto Art panel later on.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we look forward to everything you're going to add to the community. By Flirk, he wanted your name. Rutger van der Tos is his name. Xavier, thank you so much for everything you've added. Space Painter, thank you. Matt Kane, big thank you. Jessica came in. Jessica Angel came in a little late. She's added some great comments. Thank you. Let's see who else. Steph Delev. I said Sparrow. So yeah, if I missed anybody, just hit us up in Twitter at Universe Contemporary on Twitter, which is a crypto art advisor. And yeah, thank you, Easy in Crypto, for jumping in and adding more comments. He was our moderator yesterday. And of course, I'd like to thank Alessio, Rutger, Mattia, Carlos, David Moore from Known Origin, our moderator.
Thank you.
Angie, who added so richly to this global discussion on contemporary crypto art. You've definitely given us a lot of food for thought, and I hope that everyone out there will continue the conversation via Twitter, where the community is active, and be brave and bold about sharing your thoughts, but just be mindful. You know, I think that ultimately what it's about, just being mindful in communication. Even if someone has done or said something which you are, you know, vehemently against, I think there's a very graceful way to say fuck you and fuck your thoughts, right? Without actually saying fuck you and fuck your thoughts, because we don't want drama. We have enough of that. 2020 has been very dramatic. And I think, at least for me, and I feel like I can speak for everyone on the panel in the comments and say, we're really looking for more unity in our, you know, art community. We're really looking for more togetherness. Rutger brought up, you know, doing collaborations, and you actually gave me an idea. I think next year for Crypto Art Week 2021, each panel should do a mashup artwork and then present that artwork, whether it's OpenSea or some other platform that comes around, and then we tokenize that artwork. The artists get 10% each, and then
yes, let's tokenize in real time so people understand.
Yeah.
Every time, oh, it doesn't work. This.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all very much. We're going to end it here. Please follow the conversations, follow everyone on Instagram. And our next panel is today at, actually just look on Twitter for it. I can't think of everything right now, sorry. But we do have a next panel coming up. Find us on Twitter. Merci.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Ciao.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Danke. I just want to mention that it's really interesting that my favorite artwork from Rutger, I just realized that it's a self-portrait.
Yeah,
Which
that's
one is
one of
it?
my favorites of his too.
I don't remember the name, but it's a self-portrait. It's a bit, I mean, I love that piece. Anyways.
Thanks.
Blushing, Rutger. Maybe you guys should chalk offline.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Love you all.
You guys.
See you.
Ciao.
Have fun.
See you in the
Thanks.
metaverse. See you in the metaverse. Bye bye.